She told me she was going to see her cousin in Cleveland. Left early Friday morning with one small suitcase. Said she'd be back Sunday afternoon. I didn't question it. I even helped load her car. Watched her drive off. Kissed her goodbye through the window. I watched that car disappear down the hill like it was any other weekend. I stood there on the porch holding a mug of coffee I no longer wanted. What she didn't know was that her cousin, the one she claimed to be visiting, posted pictures from Paris that very same morning. Eiffel Tower, croissants, her boyfriend proposing, the works. That was the moment something inside me tilted. Not broke, just tilted. A shift, like a door creaking open to a room I hadn't noticed in my own house. I didn't call Jenna, didn't text. I didn't confront her. I just sat down at my desk and started watching. She has an iPad, linked to our shared Apple account. She never figured out how to disable location sharing on it. I had no reason to ever check it until now. Saturday morning, 11:32 a.m. Her iPad pinged in a neighborhood 2 towns over. Not Cleveland. Not even close. I zoomed in on the map and felt a bitter, electric burn in my chest when I saw the street name. Wyndham Lane. I knew that street. I knew the house. Red bricks, peeling white shutters. 2 cars always parked in the same awkward L shape. I knew it because 3 years ago we drove past it and she said, too casually, "That's where Mark used to live." Mark, her ex. I didn't go over there. I didn't storm in. That would have been too easy for her. Too theatrical. Instead, I did something she never expected. I waited. She came back Sunday evening just like she said she would. Walked through the front door holding a smoothie like she had just returned from yoga. Hair in a bun. Oversized hoodie. Little travel bag slung over her shoulder. She didn't look like someone who spent the weekend in her ex's bed. She looked like someone who had everything under control. And maybe she did. Maybe she thought I'd never suspect a thing. But what she didn't realize, what she could never imagine, was that I had already been in that house. Saturday night, while she slept just a few rooms away from him, I knocked on the neighbor's door. An old man answered. Said he'd lived next to Mark for a decade. I told him I was looking for my dog. Brown retriever, friendly, wandered off. He said he hadn't seen a dog, but I could check the yards if I wanted. So I did. I walked right up to Mark's house like I belonged there, like I had a reason to be, and when I saw her car in the driveway, I knew. Not guessed. Not feared. Knew. Sunday evening, when she walked in and casually asked, "How was your weekend?" I just smiled. Told her it was quiet. She unpacked, showered, changed into pajamas and settled onto the couch with her laptop like nothing happened. I waited until she was mid-sentence in some story about a gas station on the way back, then interrupted her. "You left your iPad at home," I said. She froze. I continued, "It never left town." That was the moment she realized I wasn't guessing. Her eyes twitched just slightly, not fear but calculation. She closed the laptop slowly, placed it beside her and looked at me. "I didn't think you'd notice," she said, just like that. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me explain." No tears, no excuses. Just flat, simple acknowledgement, like she'd parked in the wrong spot and hoped the meter maid wouldn't catch her. That calm rattled me more than any screaming ever could. "You were with him." She didn't answer. "You lied. You planned this. You looked me in the eye and lied for weeks about this trip. And then you went to him." Still no response. She just stared. Then finally, she spoke, so casually I almost didn't hear it at first. "I needed a reminder," she said. "A reminder of what?" "That someone still wants me." My hands were cold. Not shaky. Cold. I don't even know what I looked like to her in that moment. Betrayed, furious, hollow. Probably all of it at once. But what I felt was something new. Not pain. Not even rage. Something more dangerous. Something quiet. "You went to your ex's house to prove to yourself you're still desirable," I said. "And you left me here to figure it out on my own." Her mouth curved up. Not quite a smile. Something smaller. Sharper. "You always wanted a loyal wife," she said. "Maybe that was the problem. You wanted something I never agreed to be." She stood up and walked to the kitchen. Just like that. Like the conversation was over. Like she had won. I stayed sitting there, staring at the space she left behind. And I knew that she had no idea what I was about to do next. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of heartbreak, that would have been too easy. No, I stayed awake because I was calculating. At 3:17 a.m., I started collecting data. Bank statements, her text backups, the shared cloud folder she forgot to unsync. There was a message from Mark 3 weeks ago that said, "Should I get the wine you like?" And her reply, "You still remember." She had been orchestrating this entire thing like a quiet play behind my back. One scene at a time. Grocery trips that took too long. Lunch with Emily, while Emily was posting beach photos from Cancun. Her growing irritation with me over things that hadn't changed. The same way a liar convinces herself her guilt is your fault. By 6 a.m., I knew everything I needed to know. I didn't confront her again. Not yet. I needed her to step into the trap willingly. So I made coffee like I always do. Made hers the way she likes it, almond milk, 1 sugar. Set it on the counter like nothing had happened. She walked into the kitchen wrapped in a blanket, scrolling on her phone. The same way she always did. I watched her look at the coffee, hesitate, then pick it up. She didn't thank me. That evening, I told her my boss invited us to dinner. A big thing formal couples catered. Said he wanted to get to know the families of his senior staff. She blinked at me like she wasn't sure if I'd lost my mind or if I was playing a deeper game. "Tonight?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. Black tie. There was no dinner. She got dressed anyway. Tight emerald dress, gold earrings. She did her hair, picked out heels, even spritzed the perfume I bought her 2 anniversaries ago. A perfume she hadn't worn in over a year. When she walked out of the bedroom, I looked her straight in the eye and said, "We're not going anywhere." She didn't speak. She didn't ask why. She just stared, waiting for the reveal. So I gave it to her. I called Mark. She blinked. Once. That was it. Told him I knew. Told him you came back here pretending like nothing happened. And that you said it wasn't even the first time. Her jaw tightened. He didn't deny it. Now she spoke. What did he say? I took a step toward her. He asked if I was calling to fight him. I said no. I told him he could keep the lie he stole. That I wasn't going to fight over trash someone else left on the curb. That stung. I saw it. Not guilt, offense. Like I just insulted her performance. She crossed her arms. "So what now, Kyle? You think this makes you strong? Dramatic speeches and smug little lines." "No," I said. "This isn't about strength. It's about clarity. I just needed to see who you really were when the mask slipped." She scoffed. "Please, don't act like you're innocent in all this. You wanted a wife who'd sit quietly while you buried yourself in your boring little routine." "There it is," I said softly. "There what?" "That moment where you rewrite the story so it hurts less." She laughed once, bitter. "You think I care if it hurts you? I don't. I'm just tired of pretending this was ever something worth protecting." I walked past her to the hallway closet. Pulled out the envelope I had hidden behind the winter scarves. "I already filed," I said. "Papers are drawn. Just need your signature." That stopped her. "You're serious?" "I'm done." She stood there, arms still folded, like she was weighing her next move. Her eyes flicked to the door, to the kitchen, to the window, like she was trying to calculate the path of least consequence. Then she did the thing I expected least. She smiled. A slow, tilted smile that made my skin crawl. "I was going to leave anyway," she said. "I just wanted to see how far you'd bend before you broke." Then she walked to the bedroom, shut the door, and locked it behind her like it was just another night. I stood in the hallway holding the envelope, not angry, not sad, just hollow. But even that would change soon. Because the next morning, she made a phone call she thought I wouldn't hear. And that call changed everything. She made the call at 7:42 a.m. Thought I was still asleep. She always underestimated how light I sleep when something feels off. The bedroom door was cracked just slightly, enough for her voice to slip through like steam off a boiling pot. "Yeah, he took the bait," she whispered. "No, he didn't yell. Just stood there all calm, handing me divorce papers like he was proud of himself. It's honestly pathetic." Silence. Then a laugh, small, mean. "I'll be out by the end of the week. If he wants a clean exit, he's getting one. He thinks this is his moment. But he doesn't even realize he's still dancing exactly how I planned." Another pause. Then, "No, he doesn't know about the money. I moved it last month before Cleveland. His dumb little savings account? Emptied. The joint one? Transferred while he was in the shower. I froze in the hallway. Every word dropped like a pin in a padded room. Sharp, precise, planned. And I felt it. Not rage, not even betrayal, but a deep, unshakable disgust. Not just for her, but for myself. For ever believing she was someone capable of loyalty. I backed away before she could spot me, returned to the kitchen, sat at the table, and looked at the cold coffee in front of me like it had secrets, too. I already knew what I had to do. I just needed to wait for her next move. She came out 15 minutes later, all casual. Slippers, sweatshirt, said she was going to the store, needed trash bags. I told her to take her time. The second she pulled out of the driveway, I opened the laptop. Passwords I'd memorized long ago, hers, not mine. I went into the joint account, then into the hidden PayPal she didn't know I'd found 2 months ago. The one labeled old college subscriptions like that would fool anyone who looked closely. She'd been quietly siphoning cash for nearly 4 months. Not just from our savings. From me. She'd rerouted part of my freelance payments into her own sub-account. Backdoor logins, hidden forwarding emails, it was intricate. Elegant, almost. Like she enjoyed building it. But she got sloppy last week. One deposit notification from a client accidentally CC'd to the original inbox. That's when I traced it. Sat on it. Let her play her hand. Now it was my turn. I gathered every shred of proof. Printed copies. Logged her transactions. Took screenshots. Recorded the audio from this morning's call. Thanks to a device I plugged into the hallway wall days ago. I'd had a feeling I'd need it. By the time she came back, humming like someone who'd won a prize, the entire file was zipped and sent. Not to a lawyer. To 2 lawyers. One mine. One hers. She walked in holding plastic bags, tossed them on the counter, then pulled out her phone. And that's when it buzzed in her hand. She opened the message. Paused. Blinked. Looked up at me. What is this? Your trail, I said. She scrolled. Slowly. Her expression didn't crack. But I saw it in her posture, a tiny shift. The spine straightened. The breath shortened. This is illegal, she said. No, I replied. This is called documentation. You've been spying on me? You've been robbing me. The silence was thick. She stepped forward slowly. So what, Kyle? You want to drag this out now? You want to play martyr because I finally decided I'm done pretending you're enough? No, I said flatly. You already made that choice. I'm just making sure you pay for how you did it. She threw the bag. It hit the floor, split, trash bags tumbling out like deflated lungs. I should have left months ago. You should have, I said. But you got greedy. She stepped closer. You think I care what some lawyer says? You think this scares me? No, I said again. But your father will. That was the hit. Because her father, the one who co-signed her business loan, the one who gave her a job at his firm despite her barely scraping through school. He had no idea what she'd been doing behind the scenes. Using the company credit card to book hotel rooms under fake names. Sending money to Mark through shell accounts. I hadn't told him yet, but I would. And we both knew what that would mean. You're bluffing, she said. But her voice cracked just slightly. I already sent the file. She stood there, motionless, for a long time. Then her expression hardened. You're pathetic, she hissed. You're a bitter, boring man who can't accept that someone didn't want him. I nodded. And you're a desperate fraud who needed someone to believe in you because you never believed in yourself. That one hit. But I didn't flinch. She turned and walked out of the room. Not upstairs. Not into the bedroom. She left. No shoes. No keys. She just walked out the front door like the conversation had ended. But it hadn't. Because 37 minutes later, Mark showed up in my driveway. He pulled up like he owned the pavement. A scratched-up gray BMW. Windows 2 tinted. Music thumping low like a pulse. He didn't even park properly. Just angled the car halfway onto my lawn and left the engine running. I watched him from the living room window, standing there like a man who thought confrontation was his natural habitat. He didn't knock. He kicked the door once with the side of his foot, then banged his knuckles into it like he was collecting a debt. I opened it before he could do it again. Mark Slightly older than me, maybe mid to late 30s. Looked like someone who used to be hot in college and never evolved past that version of himself. Overconfident jaw, sleeves rolled up to show forearms that probably got more gym time than books did. He had that look, the type who thinks being someone's mistake means you're owed something. "You think you're clever?" he said. No hello. No introduction. I didn't answer, just held the door halfway open and let him talk. "She came to me because you drained her, man. You turned her into this half version of herself. And now you want to punish her for waking up." "She stole from me," I said calmly. "She lied. She planned it." He scoffed. "She didn't steal anything. That was mutual money. And she needed a backup plan. You left her no room. Did she tell you that before or after the hotel charges went through the company card her father owns?" That hit. I saw it in the flicker, hesitation, confusion, doubt. She hadn't told him. She told me she didn't care if it all burned. But apparently, she hadn't invited Mark to watch the fire. "You're bluffing. I have bank logs, audio, text chains." Her own voice, just this morning, laying it out like a checklist. "Want to hear it?" I reached for my phone. He stepped forward. "You recorded her?" I held up a hand. "She made herself the architect of this. I'm just keeping the blueprints." He stared at me, like he was trying to gauge whether this was a trap or just a man finally done being quiet. Then he made a mistake. He stepped inside. "I should break your face," he said. "You're lucky I'm not like that. You are like that. You just don't want a record of it." We stood maybe 3 feet apart. I didn't flinch. He wanted me to. He needed me to. That's the thing with people like him. If you don't react, you take the script away from them. They don't know what to do without a scene. So I gave him silence. And in that silence, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. It was her. One line of text. "Whatever you sent my dad. I hope it was worth it." I showed it to Mark. "She's throwing you under the bus right now," I said. He stared at the message. For a split second, just a flicker, I saw something break in his posture. A crack. The kind you don't notice until someone's back is already in pieces. Then his jaw clenched. "You're lying. She gave up your name. Told him everything. Said you manipulated her. Said you threatened her with the recordings. Ones she didn't even know I had. She wouldn't. She already did." And then, silence again. He stepped back, looked down at the floor, then back at me, like he was calculating a way to undo what he'd just seen. But there wasn't one. And he knew it. "I came here to defend her," he said quietly. "And now," he looked at the door, then at the house, then finally back at me. "I think you were her next backup plan." And with that, he walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't say another word. Just walked back to his car, got in, and drove off without looking back. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just gone. I stood in the entryway for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because in that moment, I realized I wasn't just dealing with betrayal. I was dealing with someone who saw people as levers, tools, temporary scaffolding for whatever she was building next. And I was no longer part of the blueprint. But I wasn't finished either, because she still hadn't come back. And I already knew where she'd run next. She went to her sister's house. It was the only place left that she could spin her story without being questioned. Her sister, Claire, always hated me. Not openly, but enough that you could feel it in every passive-aggressive comment she made during family dinners. She once told Jenna that I was domesticated, like a house pet she trained too well. Jenna laughed. I remember that. It wasn't the laugh of someone who disagreed. So when she fled, I knew exactly where she'd go. I didn't chase her. I let her stew. Let her fill Claire's living room with her version of the story. The cruel, distant husband. The cold home. The quiet, emotional starvation she supposedly endured. The kind of narrative that paints the liar as the victim and the one who stayed loyal as the villain. But what she didn't know was that Claire's husband, Matt, had reached out to me months ago. He told me something I never told her. He said, "I don't know what's going on between you two, but Jenna's been whispering things to Claire that don't add up. Just be careful. She's good at warping reality when it suits her." Matt was neutral, quiet, observant, and most importantly, done with being used as a pawn in Jenna's little theater. So I waited. Not even a full day later, Matt sent me a text. She's telling Claire you tried to blackmail her. She showed a fake email she wrote herself. I've seen it before. She used the same tactic with her ex before you. Want me to record? I told him no. I didn't need more recordings. I already had enough truth. What I needed now was a stage. A place to expose everything. Not to her, but to the people she'd been using as mirrors to admire her twisted reflection. That's when I called her father. He answered on the third ring, voice tired and cold. Jenna already called me, he said. I figured. She said you were unstable, obsessive, that you faked evidence to make her look bad. Then I assume you've seen the emails from your company's account. The ones she sent to the fake vendor she created, wired through PayPal. There was silence. Those were traced to your firm's financials. If your accountant runs a check, it's going to look like you're committing fraud. Not her. More silence. Then finally, send me everything. Right now. I did. And 5 hours later, he called me back with 3 words. I fired her. No ceremony. No sentiment. Just the final thud of a door slamming shut behind her. She'll come after you, he added. Not legally, emotionally. She needs someone to blame. She already tried, I said. It's not working anymore. Do you want me to speak to Claire? No, I told him. Let her reveal herself. That's how this ends. I didn't have to wait long. That night, Jenna showed up at the house again. No call. No warning. Just the sound of tires on gravel and the slow creak of the gate opening like a breath being held. She stood at the door in leggings and a hoodie, face bare, eyes sharp. Claire kicked me out, she said. I leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. Why? Because she thinks I'm toxic. Her voice didn't tremble. Because she thinks you told Matt things about me. You're poisoning everything. You poisoned it yourself. She didn't blink. You still think you're the good guy here? No, I said. I just know I'm not the one who's been living like the rules don't apply. She stepped forward, voice rising. I built everything with you. I made sacrifices you didn't even notice. I chose to be in this marriage when I could have walked away so many times. But I stayed. I held on while you held on while you drained me dry. I interrupted. You stayed because it was convenient. Because I was stable, predictable, easy to manipulate. And the moment I stopped playing dumb, you ran. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried a different angle. I didn't want to hurt you, Kyle. But I needed to feel something again. There it was. The final card. I needed to feel something. The most tired excuse in the book for people who leave emotional wreckage behind them and call it personal growth. You felt something, I said. Power. Control. And now that it's slipping, you're panicking. She stood there, breathing shallowly, like her body wanted to argue but her mind couldn't find the words. Give me the papers, she said finally. Let's just end it. I handed her the envelope without a word. She didn't look at it, just turned and walked down the steps, the wind catching the side of her hoodie, making it flap like a flag in retreat. She didn't know that inside those papers was a notarized agreement, drafted after her father's confirmation, outlining every cent she took and what she now owed. She didn't read it that night, but she would. And when she did, the next storm would come. Not from me, but from the people she thought would always protect her. It took her 2 days to read the papers. I know because she messaged me at exactly 9:03 p.m. on the second night. One line, no greeting. You're out of your mind if you think I'm signing this. I didn't respond. At 9:11, another one came in. You went too far, Kyle. You think this makes you look strong? You look desperate. Still, I didn't respond, because the response wasn't mine to give anymore. That afternoon, her father had forwarded my file to the firm's internal auditors. Every payment she rerouted, every fake vendor, every digital breadcrumb she thought she'd swept under the rug. It was now printed, bound, and delivered to legal. She didn't know that yet. She thought the storm was still just between us. The next morning, I got a call from Claire. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity or maybe a desire for closure got the better of me. She didn't waste time. I owe you an apology, she said. I leaned back in my chair, stunned into silence for a moment. I believed her, for years, even when it didn't make sense. She always had a reason, always a version of the truth that made her seem like the one being wronged. I thought you were the quiet manipulator. That you were shrinking her. I let her talk. She stayed with me for 48 hours. That's all it took to see it. She lied to me 4 times, Kyle. 4. And I caught every single one. She's compulsive, I said. She can't help it anymore. Claire sighed. She told me you threatened her. Said you were spiraling, and that you were using money to control her. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Matt pulled me aside yesterday, Claire continued. Told me everything. The money trail. The recordings. What she said to you, and how calm you were when she was trying to destroy you. I didn't believe him at first. I thought, no, Jenna's just in pain. But then she looked me in the eye and lied about something I was there for. That's when it clicked. She doesn't even care if it makes sense. She just needs someone to absorb the blame. She runs out of people eventually, I said. Claire paused. I think she finally has. That night, Jenna called me. Not a text, a call. First time in weeks. I answered. She didn't start with hello. I just got off the phone with Dad, she said. I waited. You really sent it all to the board? I warned you. You humiliated me. No, I replied. You did that to yourself. I just stopped covering for you. She went quiet. I could hear the faint static of her breath. Do you know what you've done? I think I do, I said. You're not fired because you cheated. You're not fired because you lied to me. You're fired because you thought you could manipulate a family business the same way you manipulated this marriage. And you left a trail. You think you're clean in all this? No, I said. But I never lied to destroy someone. You did. She exhaled slowly, and for the first time in all of this, her voice sounded small. Was any of it real for you? I was quiet for a long time. Yeah, I said finally. That's what makes it worse. She hung up. No screaming. No threats. Just silence. And for the first time since this began, the house felt still. Not empty. Not broken. Just still. But I knew it wasn't over. Not with someone like Jenna. Because people like her don't fade. They reload. And when she did, it wouldn't be another angry phone call. It would be a move. The kind you don't see coming. It came 3 days later. A white envelope slid into my mailbox with no return address. No markings except my name, handwritten, in a script I recognized immediately. Jenna never had messy handwriting. Everything she did, even betrayal, was neat. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. The first was a letter. The second was a printout bank statements. Not mine. My mother's. I stared at them for a full minute before I understood what I was looking at. Jenna had accessed my mom's account. How? I didn't know yet. But I saw it clear as daylight. A transfer, just a few days ago. $7,000 pulled from her savings and wired to a private checking account opened under a name I didn't recognize. It wasn't my account. It wasn't Jenna's either. It was Mark's. And attached, in Jenna's looping surgical handwriting, was a single line. If I go down, I'm taking everyone you care about with me. She'd always been calculated. But this was something else. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was moving pieces with knives in their corners. I made 3 calls in under 10 minutes. First, to the bank, locked my mother's account, flagged the transaction. The fraud team said they'd seen similar patterns, and that the ID used to authorize the transfer had come from a device in our city. A fake login. Spoofed, but still trackable. Second, to my mother. She hadn't even noticed the money was gone. That shattered me in ways I didn't know I could still feel. She cried when I told her. Not out of the money. She didn't care about the money. But because someone she'd welcomed into the family with open arms had used her like a stepping stone on the way out. The third call was to Jenna. She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. So I left her a voicemail. You crossed a line. You always thought I'd stay quiet because I'm not loud like you. Because I don't humiliate. I don't explode. I don't threaten. But I warned you. Now I'm finished talking. You'll hear from my lawyer. I hung up. And that was it. Or so I thought. That night she showed up again. I don't know how she got onto the property. Maybe through the woods in the back, maybe she had a spare key I never found. But she was suddenly in the living room. No knock. No warning. She was shaking. Her hair was tangled. Mascara smudged like a bruise under each eye. In one hand, she held a phone. In the other, the letter I'd written to her lawyer. "You want to ruin me?" she said. "No," I said calmly. "I want you out of everyone's life. You think they'll all just believe you? You think they'll forget what I've told them?" "They already are," I said. She laughed. Sharp. Cold. "You don't get it, do you? I am the victim. That's the part you keep missing. I had to manipulate because I was trapped. I had to steal because I was surviving. I had to lie because you made me live in silence. You had choices," I said. "You made every single one." She stepped closer. "I'm not signing your little papers. I'm not giving up. You think Mark's out of this? You think he's your ally now? He's using this too. You started something, Kyle. And when it falls apart, you're the one who'll look weak." I didn't move. "You walked into this house like you still had power here," I said. "But all I see is someone who's lost control." She stared at me, and then, in a voice so low I almost missed it, she whispered, "You never really knew me." I nodded. "I know you now." She left. Didn't slam the door. Didn't scream. And that scared me more than anything else. Because when Jenna got quiet, truly eerily quiet, something was always coming. And sure enough, 2 days later, the lawsuit hit. Wrongful termination, emotional abuse, invasion of privacy, filed against me. The lawsuit was a bomb disguised as paperwork. Thick packet, hand-delivered. Jenna's name at the top in bold. Filed through a mid-tier legal firm downtown, the kind that took messy personal cases for the drama more than the justice. She accused me of everything. Emotional neglect, mental manipulation, surveillance without consent. She claimed I created a hostile environment, that I fabricated evidence to ruin her career, that I colluded with her father to have her fired in a vindictive campaign against her after she tried to leave an abusive marriage. She even attached a doctored screenshot of a message she claimed I sent her, one filled with threats. I'd never written it, but if you didn't know the full story, if you just saw the surface, it looked damning. That was her play. She wasn't trying to win the case. She was trying to reframe the narrative. Try to paint me as the monster before I could fully expose her. Because that's how people like her survive, by getting ahead of the truth and bending it until they look like the only person bleeding. But what she didn't know was that I had already expected this. She taught me how she moves, step by step. Manipulation isn't just her instinct, it's her language. And once I finally learned it, I started speaking it better than her. The day I got served, I called my lawyer. We'd been preparing a defensive strategy ever since the moment she walked out after calling herself my sacrifice. We had recordings with timestamps, bank logs with her digital signature on each transfer, screenshots of her message to Mark, gloating about draining the joint account. And now, thanks to her lawsuit, new evidence of fraud, that fabricated message she submitted. She gave me the rope and tied it herself. My lawyer didn't just submit a counterclaim. He went one step further. He brought in Jenna's father as a witness. You should have seen her face at the preliminary hearing. She walked into that courtroom with her chin high, in a cream blazer and icy confidence. But when she turned and saw her father seated behind me, not her, the flicker of panic across her eyes was unmistakable. Quick, but there. The judge wasn't swayed by theatrics. And when we laid everything out, piece by piece, the siphoned money, the doctored screenshots, the call she didn't know was recorded where she admitted it was all about feeling power again. The weight of her story started to fold under its own fiction. She tried to shift tactics, tear up on the stand, talk about how isolated she felt, how I never let her grow. But every emotional string she tried to pluck was flat. The room didn't bite, because the receipts were louder. When her father gave his statement, dry, professional, with every detail logged and ready, he ended it with a single sentence I'll never forget. "I enabled my daughter too long, but I won't be her shield anymore." That was the end of it. Case dismissed. Counterclaim accepted. Jenna didn't just lose. She exposed herself completely. The judge ordered her to repay the money she stole from my mother. She's now under formal investigation for embezzlement from her father's firm. And Mark? He vanished. No contact. Rumor is, he flipped on her to avoid being implicated in the financial mess she pulled him into. She's alone now, and she knows it. I got the final letter from her 2 weeks later. Not an apology. Not even a full sentence. Just 5 words, scribbled on torn notebook paper. I don't lose. Watch me. But there's nothing left to take. No house. No job. No story she can twist without it collapsing in her hands. And me? I'm not bitter. I'm done. I've learned something she never did. That silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes, it's the sound of someone sharpening the truth. If you're reading this and you see the signs, the small lies, the shifting blame, the way they make you feel insane for asking questions that deserve answers, don't wait for the explosion. Walk away before they light the match. Because people like Jenna don't change. They just look for softer targets.